All right, everybody, welcome back to See It, a show about movies and stuff. This is episode 12, and the summer is upon us next week. We're going to start having all this bombastic, crazy blockbusters come out. It's one of my favorite times of the year. We're talking about the summer movie season. I am joined today by some great film critics, Lonita Cook, who is done everything and anything in this industry, as well as D Movie Man, one of the best follows on YouTube, and really has great insight on films too. How you guys doing?
Hey, how's it going? Great to be here. Bryon Knows Movies.
Yes, very, very excited.
Okay, I brought in some backup because there's so many films this year. We have over 50 films that are coming out during the summer movie season. The summer movie season has basically been elongated year after year after year, and now it basically starts the first week of May and goes all the way to the end of August. Our first big film, of course, is Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, and then we're off to the races. No way in the world we're going to be able to talk about all 50 films. So we decided to try to prioritize this with doing a draft similar to the NFL draft that's happening this week. So we're going to be drafting the films that we're the most excited about. We have 5 rounds, which means each of us will end up with 5 movies. This is going to be also kind of fun because it's competitive. It's a competition. We want our viewers to tell us who are making the right picks at the right time. You can definitely react in the comment section below. I'll go ahead and shout you out, and we will go ahead and make it happen. We even have one first one, the View with Drew. Hey, everybody, what's up? What's up with you, the View with Drew? Thanks for joining the show. Now, before we get started, I think it's proper that we do take some time to recognize a industry giant who passed away today at the age of 96, Mr. Harry Belafonte. Harry Belafonte, if you do not know, is one of our heroes and giants, not just in film, but also in civil rights and so forth. He's the one that was able to break a lot of color barriers, terms of our both in terms of our film and theater, but also the civil rights. He helped to sponsor and pay for the civil rights movement. He helped to do so many things for youth organizations and trying to stop gang violence in the 80s and so on and so on and so forth. So his even though his impact in movies is phenomenal, if his impact on society is even bigger. So I just wanted to recognize him and see if any of my friends had anything to say about Mr. Belafonte before we moved on.
Yeah,
Yes.
Harry Belafonte is a legend. He was an entire era in and of himself. He is definitive. hmm And so the work that he did with the anti-apartheid movement and just spearheading um, a lot of what we know about producing and making movies in Hollywood, particularly for Black producers, Black actors, creatives. We owe all of this to Harry Belafonte. Things that we know and things that we don't know, I think. And with the passing of Sidney Poitier, a lot of their legacy has started coming to the forefront. And so I think we definitely need to raise our heads to his legacy.
I go ahead, D. I'm sorry.
Oh no, no, you're good. No, I was gonna say my my technical introduction to Harry Belafonte was in Beetlejuice with the Banana Boat song,
Me too.
even though at the time I didn't realize it, and then I got older, and I got into like old Hollywood classic films at a young age because of my dad, my mom, and my grandmother, especially my grandmother. And so watching Carmen Jones, that was also like my visual introduction to him as an actor. And then from there, I really learned more about just his impact as an actor, as a musician, as an activist, and just really just recognizing his influence in so many ways, like Lanita said. And yeah, it's unfortunate to see that someone with that kind of impact to lose that, but I definitely believe that it was a life well lived, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm very, very grateful for the legacy that he left behind.
I 100% agree. I never told you this, Lanita, but I actually met Harry Belafonte and got to basically chauffeur and chaperone him for a whole day when I was in my old position when I was working at a university. He came to speak, or one of the organizations I sponsored brought him in, and we hung out pretty much the whole day because he got in really early. His lecture was that night. And when you talk about apartheid, one of the things we talked about was Miriam Makeba and how he helped Miriam Makeba escape apartheid and then produce that album to help to like keep her running and her sending money back to the movement and stuff like that. So just a phenomenal man, one of the best experiences of my life, and he will definitely be missed.
Yeah.
So, with that said, we're going to, Harry Belafonte was in a couple of blockbusters himself, so let's talk about blockbusters. But the thing about summer movies is that the thing I love about it is not just blockbusters that come out. There's a lot of film directors and studios that like to zag during the summer, so you'll get some smaller, quieter films, you'll get some independent films and sprinkled in here to help to basically give some balance to all of the superhero genre and action fare and adventure fare that you see. And that's what makes it so exciting. Also, it's not really a big season for horror, but there's some good horror movies too. So I'm excited to talk about that. So the way the draft's going to go is, as you see, I have us in order, draft order. So D is going to go first, followed by Lonita, and then I have third pick. I put this in a randomizer. I didn't pick it. The internet did. So this is the the ratio that the internet picked out. And we're going to go snake style, similar to the way that the NFL, the NBA, MLB, whatever, does their draft. So for the first round, it goes 1, 2, 3, and then reverses. So I would have the first pick of the second round. Lanita has second pick. D has third pick. And we'll go like that throughout all 5 rounds. As movies are introduced, I will pop them up on the screen and give them to the person who has drafted them. And so, without further ado, you have one of the best spots, and probably the hardest spot, is picking what is the number 1 overall draft pick of summer movies. D, let us have it.
All right. Tough choice. A lot of options, so much to choose from, but I had to definitely go with the blockbuster just to start out. So I am going to go with Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning Part 1, directed by Christopher McQuarrie.
Oh, that
Yeah.
hurts.
Yes, I had to do it. Mission Impossible. It's one of those films that I don't like. There are certain films that have been a part of my life, like since like the early years. So like talking like when I was born to when I was 5, and so in my VHS drawer, the first Mission Impossible was in that drawer, and so it's one of those films I've always been familiar with, especially with the whole dropping down on the wires, and that image has always been imprinted in my as far as my mind and imagery and films and all that. And I think that it has been a film franchise that has really, man, it has really evolved over the years. It has like just gotten better and better and better. And I think it is kind of the antithesis of what we see with a lot of franchises. It's kind of like the law of diminishing returns. It gets worse and or just bigger and more obnoxious and more annoying, and just the quality diminishes. But I think it's the opposite with Mission Impossible. And if there's anything I can say about Tom Cruise, that he definitely knows what he's doing when it comes to, like, even if we look at Top Gun Maverick and then this franchise, he is definitely investing a lot into making these experiences, as far as films, something that is just not the norm and something that just takes it to the next level. So I'm really, really excited. And that first trailer that came out has been one of my favorites. No matter how many times it comes on, I get the excitement, the chills, all that all over again. So yeah, had to come out the gate strong. Yeah.
Oh man, I great pick, great pick. Lanita already knows. I have a couple of friends in the live stream that knows this too. Mission Impossible is my favorite action franchise of all time, so this is going to be my number 1 pick too. Tom Cruise is on a tear. Him and Christian McQuarrie on these films is like peanut butter and jelly. It's going to make a gazillion dollars, as it should. I am so jealous that you got that. I felt like it probably wasn't going to be there by the time it got to me, but first pick overall, Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning Part One. Lonita, anything you want to add to about Mission Impossible before you make your pick?
I will say that I grew up on the TV show, or I was little when the TV show was out. And so when Tom Cruise came out with the movie franchise, I was so excited. I would say I came of age in the 80s. And so I was a huge Tom Cruise fan. And so the first Mission Impossible was very special for me. The subsequent Mission Impossibles have been wonderful action films. The trailer for this one seems a little bit like a return to the original in terms of the settings and the visual treatment. And so I'm actually more excited for this one than I've been for any of the other sequels.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Well, Lonita, you are on the. Before you go, we have a couple of chats. The View with the Drew. I'm good. Dropped you a sub. Thank you so much for subscribing to my channel. Afterwards, if you want to subscribe to D Movie Man, it's at D Movie Man as well. Lonita Cook has great content on Insta, as well as if you go to Facebook, Black Bee Buzz on Facebook as well. Please continue to support creators and Black creators because we want to continue to do this stuff. Marcus Johnson also pays respect for Harry Belafonte. Appreciate that. Number 2 pick is all yours, Lonita.
So the number 2 pick, this would be my number 1 summer blockbuster, right?
Yes.
I'm gonna go with Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse as my number 1. Yes. And I think it speaks for itself. I think what we see in the trailer is that we are headed into a sequel that is as good as the original, or maybe even surpasses. It's going to be like the Godfather 2 of the Spider-Verse. I'm so excited for this one.
Well, that's what happens when you get the 3rd pick. Your number 1 and number 2 picks are gone. Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse was my second favorite film of, what was it, 2019 when that came out, 2018. It was almost my number 1 film of that year. Amazing pick there. The thing that I'm a little concerned about is none of the original creators are coming back for this film. It's all new folks. In terms of the directing and art direction and stuff like that. But Kemp Powers, who did Soul and a bunch of other things, he's directing, as well as, I looked up the other guy, Joaquin Dos Santos. He's done a lot of superhero animated TV shows that I enjoy as a comic book person. So I think it's still in good hands, but that is something that makes me a little, and I'd say nervous. It's from 100% to 99%. So, yeah.
Yeah. It's a risk. They're taking a risk, but I think what they did well with the first one, the surprise in the animation, I think they are going to top that, at least from what I see in the trailer.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Anything to add, D?
No, I totally agree. I think going into the first film, not that my expectations were low, but I really didn't know what to expect at that point. And yeah, I was curious, like, how can we adapt? I was familiar with Miles Morales, but I had never seen him in action. So I was like, how is this going to work? Is this going to feel like an expansion? Is it going to feel like a retread? And it didn't. It felt like something very new, very fresh, very original. And I can't remember, there was a Marvel film, it might have been after like the post-credit of Venom, but they had a scene from the film as the post-credit. I think it was Venom at the time. And I remember seeing that and I was like, there was something, I don't know, like there was something that struck me differently watching that scene. So then I was like, okay, well, maybe there's some hope. And I saw it and it knocked it out of the park completely. So there's a lot of directions you can go in, especially with Miguel on board and just seeing how that's going to play out, 2099 and so much more. So I'm very, very excited.
100%. So thank you for that. That also helped me figure out what I was going to do here, because I wasn't expecting my first 2 picks to be gone already. So, but the good thing about going 3 is you go 1 first on the second round. So I'm going to go with my first pick. The 3rd pick for the first round is going to be Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. I'm picking Guardians of the Galaxy. I'm excited as a Marvel head and a Marvel fan. I also believe that when you look at Guardians of the Galaxy and all the rest of the properties that are in Marvel, I feel like the Guardians of the Galaxy is the most successful franchise in terms of getting it right every single time. Guardians of the Galaxy 1 and 2 were very good. Every time the Guardians showed up in Infinity War and Endgame, they were an addition, not a subtraction. They enhanced the story. Even the What If cartoons that came in on where they had Chadwick Boseman as, Black Panther becomes Star-Lord and stuff like that. That was good. The holiday special was good. There's like, even if I look at Iron Man or Captain America, they have movies or appearances that left at least me wanting. I never felt wanting with Guardians of the Galaxy. The team is so the chemistry between the actors and the team is so well done. James Gunn has fun with these films. It's going to be very important that we land this film after Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. It didn't. I mean, it made like $500 million, but for what they wanted to make, it underperformed for what Marvel wanted it to do. The critics didn't tend to like it as much as they were hoping, and the TV shows last year were getting beat up. They really need Guardians to succeed here, and I think that they will. I think that this is going to be a return reform for Marvel. What do you guys think about Guardians?
Well, I'll say that the first Guardians of the Galaxy, we all know, it was just kind of a throwaway property. It was like they were like, hey, let's do this and have a good time. And then it blew our minds, and kind of refreshed the entire Marvel universe, right? And so I agree with you about the subsequent appearances, the sequels. They've all been really strong and really good. So I think this is a solid pick for the first one. Yeah, I'll say yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'll also say that Guardians is one of those. I remember it was Guardians of the Galaxy and Ant-Man where the response, at least the people around me, I'm not saying it was everyone, maybe comic book fans were a little more into it, but a lot of people I knew were just kind of like, what's this? What's going on? I've never heard of them. Like, we've had, Iron Man, Captain America, and like Thor. So like, I mean, people were just like, the people I talked to, they were like, it looks lame. I'm not into it. It just looks blah, 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 blah. It looked really interesting to me, partly because I'm a big sci-fi person. So I was interested in seeing like these characters work together. We have a raccoon, we have something that looks like a tree, and like so much. So I was like, okay, I'm really interested, and it really delivered, not just in the science fiction aspect, but just the comedy, the music, the nostalgia, the music, and just all these different elements that really clicked in place. And it didn't feel like a typical Marvel film, but I think that's why it worked. And as was said, it definitely was a bit of a reset, and it kind of changed what we saw going forward. So I know this is going to be a more emotional chapter, which I think is a good thing. I think we need we need that kind of that emotional foundation, especially because this is going to be a send off. So I'm not happy about that, but I'll be there to see how it all closes out. So yeah.
Absolutely.
I think this movie. I think this movie is going to have to be tip top, because if it's not, I think we are having superhero fatigue right now. I just think we are, and if this movie is not tip top, we might see Marvel or Disney Marvel hit a huge slump, because we were not happy, like you said, with Quantumania and all of the shakeup that's going on right now with everybody. So we're talking about canceling folks and stuff. So Guardians of the Galaxy is going to have to be really, really good, because it has a lot of work to do.
A lot of work, 100%. Guardians of the Galaxy, just real quick, I'm going to nerd out on you. The reason nobody knew what it was because it was a terrible comic. I've been reading comics my whole life. I never bought the original Guardians of the Galaxy series, but I did read them online. And the team came together like late 80s, early 90s, around the same time the Infinity Saga stuff going. Terrible, absolutely terrible. But I did collect they purposed the whole team and came out like in 2004, 2005 with new books, with a whole new team and everything. And those were phenomenal. And that's what these Guardians were been based off of. So I'm glad that they found the right team to do it with. I'm going to go ahead and start round 2 of the draft. And I'm going with a comedy. Joyride is my second pick. I am so excited about Joyride. It looks hilarious. This is coming from Adele Lim, who directed Crazy Rich Asians, a movie that I loved. You don't really know any of the actors. Stephanie Hsu, she was nominated for an Oscar, so she's probably the most famous person from Everything Everywhere All at Once. She was the daughter in Everything Everywhere All at Once. We know that she can bring it. I think that this is going to be a film where we see... I'm sorry, I want to make sure I say her name correctly. Sabrina Wu. Sabrina Wu is one of the actors. And I feel like based off of the trailers, she can have like an Aquafina type of launch from this, similar to what Aquafina launched after Crazy Rich Asians, as that kind of like kooky, funny side character that's in all the movies. I feel like Stephanie Wu can start to take some of that space if this movie is good. And it looks great. We used to get a dime a dozen of these types of films, these types of comedies. You used to get like 10, 20 of these a year that will come out in theaters. Now we get like 3 or 4. Most of this tends to go to streaming now. So to have them believe in this film, put it out in theaters, I'm all for it. Joyride is my second pick. Did I steal that from anybody?
Okay.
Was that a surprise or?
It was on my list, so yeah, there was a steal there, but yeah, that's okay.
It was not on my list. This kind of comedy, I'm gonna have to see it first, honestly, because it's a little bit. So who did I see this correctly? Seth Rogen is one of the producers, and I think he produces a particular kind of comedy that this is reminiscent of what we saw early in his career. And I was only a moderate Seth Rogen fan. The Raunch Fest, all of that. I have to see it first to say, did it go too far? Did it toe the line? Was it well measured, well calibrated, or did it go too far? Right. So I'm excited for the title, but it's not a draft pick for me.
Yeah. Well, we do see from the trailer that they're stuffing cocaine up assholes, so it's probably gonna be pretty. Right. It's probably gonna be pretty raunchy. I don't know if that Seth Rogen has anything to do with it or not, but I'm expecting it to go pretty far. But if it works, that type of comedy is polarizing, so we'll see. Seth Rogen, probably the last 2-3 years or so, he's been trying to seem like provide opportunities, especially for voices that are underrepresented in Hollywood. You have that Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie that comes out this year too, Mutant Mayhem, where he's putting a lot of minority and women into spaces there, and it's fun to see actors who have been in spaces and also recognize some of their privileges that they have, trying to create spaces for others. Now, Matt Damon and Ben Affleck's been doing that with their company. We've seen that with Brad Pitt, and now it looks like Seth Rogen's trying to do some of those types of things too, trying to give people opportunities. So we'll see. Now, like Adele Lim had one of the biggest movies of last decade, so I don't think she needed it. But putting these new voices in there, I think it's pretty cool. But you're right. I think it's going to be pretty raunchy.
Now, bear with me. What's the girl who, because I didn't look this one up. After I watched the trailer, I didn't look it up and do no research on it, because I was like, nah, I'm not picking this. But what's the girl? Because she's in Emily in Paris. The girl that's in Emily in Paris. She's already launched. I would say, yeah, I would say she's already launched. So yeah.
I don't remember her name. I didn't write it down. I'm sorry, but I know who you're talking about.
No, that's okay. That's okay. I should know it because I watch Emily in Paris. Every time they say we about to drop, I set a clock. Okay, because I love Emily in Paris, so I should know her name myself. But
yeah, I was going to say it kind of brings to mind, not that it's a new thing. Oh, you know what? Is it Ashley Park?
Ashley Park. Ashley Park. I just found it too.
But it definitely brings to mind, of course, films like Girls Trip, which I think going into Girls Trip, I was very on the fence because I'm the same way when it comes to the R-rated raunchy comedies. Some of those they can hit just right, and I can really enjoy, and then sometimes I'm just like, oh, I'm just sometimes it just really turns me off. I will say Game Night was one that was an R-rated comedy that I actually thought was refreshing for me
Hmm.
because it to me it subverted my expectations for what I would get from that type of film. Oh,
Game
sweetie.
Night is one of my favorite movies. I watch it
We're,
over and over. But what
we're
I
in
think
agreement.
when you say something like Girls Trip, I enjoyed Girls Trip, but I also know that Girls Trip was polarizing because it is raunchy and a lot of viewers want to talk about the raunchiness mixed with race. It can be irresponsible. It can be seen as irresponsible. And so I wonder if some of that will be at play here when we're talking about Chinese being
Mhm.
adopted by white parents and then
Right.
going on a pilgrimage to find your heritage and then getting into this raunch fest that we don't accept, at least right now, as typical of comedy for those who are marginalized, right?
Hmm.
So I wonder what the real response is going to be from audiences.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. Yes.
That's good stuff. All right. Your second pick, Lanita. What do you have? What are you thinking?
Oh, it's my turn again.
It is your
Oh,
turn.
okay. Yay! um, so this is my number two, correct?
Yes.
I am going to go with Disney's Elementals.
Uh,
Okay.
It gives me in and out, inside out vibes. Um, and I think, a lot of young folks are really really into the elements because of astrology. There seems to be a hyper focus on this with the younger generations, and so I think they know the audience that they're creating for. um, and I think it's Pixar, so the animation's great. I think the
yeah.
storytelling is going to be tight. But I
Mm-hmm.
love those traditional themes. Like, I'm a sucker for those traditional themes of finding yourself, breaking outside of molds, what is expected of you, and you being able to say, yes, I'm this, but I'm also that. And I'm also some of that over there too. So I really appreciate what I think they're going to tell in this story.
That's good stuff. I'm sorry I didn't have the graphic ready, but I'm making it right now. Disney's Elementals.
And
I
I am a fire sign, so I'm in. The fire sign is the protagonist. Go ahead.
I'm gonna be honest. I think Pixar speak not as much as Guardians of the Galaxy needs to win. I think Pixar needs to win. I don't think they've had a hit in a while. Lightyear didn't do well for them. I don't even remember what the last movie was before that.
Strange
I think that
World.
they Strange World from Disney, which I think that was more promotion than anything, but even that didn't do well. And
Yeah.
Disney and Pixar they need a win in the animated category because there's a lot more competition in this space
Mhm.
than there used to be. But I
Yes.
also,
Let
yeah,
me,
go ahead.
Universal is coming with it. This year for the Academy Awards, the most exciting category for me was animation, and
Yes.
Universal with the Puss in Boots and how they are
Mm-hmm.
pushing the technology forward in animation. I think Pixar needs to pick it up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was going to say what I do enjoy, even if they've gotten a little sidetracked. One thing I always enjoyed about Pixar, especially growing up, is that with the stories and the narratives that they've explored, it was from all these different vantage points. So a Toy Story, what is the world, from the perspective of a toy, and then with Wally of this environmental robot, and then how that conflicts with the state of the world, well, the state of the planet, and all these other things. Same thing with Cars, which was an odd one, but it was like, what does the world look like from the perspective of actual cars? So I think what's cool about Elemental, because when I saw that trailer, just immediately all the different details of the different figures and what the, what how they function and like what they're comprised of and all that. I love all those little details, and that's something I've always enjoyed about all the Pixar films. So I think just from that standpoint, that's definitely an aspect I'm excited about. Just seeing like how we explore this world and what like the elementals actually look like.
And the thing, the I think this is going to promote cross culturalism. So I think it's going to have real world impact, and letting your kids watch something like this, I think is really going to prepare their minds to
Mm-hmm.
engage the world with openness.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really great summer for kids. I don't think that last summer was that great for kids, and I don't think that the last year and a half have been great for kids at the theaters. Mainly because they just not producing. That's why Super Mario made a gazillion dollars because there was no kids films since Puss in Boots. But I think I got like 4 or 5 like movies that come out this year that are not like regular superhero movies that kids can really enjoy. And I appreciate that as somebody who's a father and wants to take daughter to the movies eventually. That's I'm glad that they're paying attention to that crowd. Uh, the last pick of the second round goes to D.
Yes. So this is a film that I have some awareness of for more than one reason, but it's one I definitely was excited about. Wasn't familiar with at the time, and it's one I've been. To me, it's been overdue because it was supposed to come out this past December, and so it got pushed to the summer. But I'm fine with that because maybe it'll have more eyes on it this way, and yeah. So I'm hanging in there with it. That is They Clone Tyrone, directed by Joel Taylor. I am I'll just say that I think the concept and the narrative and the idea of this is really unique. I kind of went into this film having one expectation of it, and then it kind of got flipped. I'll just say that I know somebody who knows somebody, and so
Mhm.
I was able to see just a little bit of it. And the little bit I did see, it was like I said, it was very shocking. I went in thinking one thing, and then all of a sudden, it was a different kind of film. And I'm very big on seeing complexity in Black narratives and Black stories. So the way that this kind of weaves in this whole kind of science fiction piece with this whole kind of government conspiracy thing and this mystery that these three characters intentionally crafted, Jamie Foxx, Tiana Paris, and John Boyega, and they're becoming this unlikely trio trying to uncover this mystery and figure out what's going on. And it just, the rabbit hole gets deeper and deeper. And so it's one I'm really just interested in seeing what the response. I'm really just interested. Excuse me. I'm really interested to see what the response is going to be when that all unfolds. Because going off of what I've seen, there's a lot that film might have to say, and it's something very unique about it and distinctive in a way I haven't seen before.
This is our first streaming movie. This is coming straight to Netflix, I believe, in June or July. I wish it got a wide release because I think that it would do pretty well in the theaters because it's a pretty star-studded cast. Jamie Foxx, John Boyega, Tiana Paris. I feel like they could sell a film even in the summer. I don't know why. Well, Netflix has the rights. They want to put it in the streaming, keep people at home, right? Well, I'm very excited about this too. When I saw the trailer, I just like, man, this just looks cool. It's just a cool looking movie. Have you seen the trailer for this, Lonita?
Yes, and I would say that and all of my picks are based on the trailers. And this was gonna be one of my picks, but it's taken, and I'm happy it is taken. The thing that I would say is the cast fabulous. I love Jamie Foxx. Been a fan since the start. John Boyega to me is one of the finest actors, and I think if we don't have any smear campaigns come for this brother, he's going to be the king of the box office one day. Okay. Like, say, for instance, if we say Denzel Washington was the reigning monarch, I think John Boyega is the one to take the crown, right? To assume the throne. And so I think the two of them, especially, uh, a great combination. The second thing I would say about this movie is I love that younger people have been able to smash some ceilings. And I think that we are doing a lot of genre and story category experimentation. And I think Netflix is a place where that's happening. The Harder They Fall, which is this beautiful cowboy opera, uh, it is an experiment. I think a complete experiment. I think that Netflix has made a commitment to do that with Black writers, Black creatives, Black actors. But what we're not seeing is them putting the efforts behind them, like we see them doing other movies where they're releasing them in the theater so that they can qualify for awards, like the Academy Awards and Golden Globes and things like that. And so hopefully what we can do is head over to that streamer, let them know that Black folks can sell a sci-fi story, Black folks can, right? Because we could do it all. We have been doing it all this whole time. Right? We just been putting white faces on it. And so what we have to say, we've been telling these stories. We've been in these writers' rooms. We've been producing these films. Shonda Rhimes was a producer. What she do? She was a producer. Did she even write The Princess Diaries? So we got Black folks that's already doing these movies. And so when we put Black faces on them, we got to let them know it'll still sell. You'll still make your paper back. You'll still make your return on your investment. And so then you can see them release in the theaters so that they can qualify for awards.
Right.
John Boyega was in a film that got overlooked last year, and I don't know why, Breaking, where he played the veteran who was just trying to get his check and ended up like basically holding up this bank and did a lot for veteran rights. And unfortunately, I'm not going to give all the movie away, but that when you talk about performances, you can see it reminded me a lot of, if I was going to make any type of comparison, very different movies, but kind of like a John Q situation, in terms of what was going on in that film, and it felt the same way. So I'm 100% about everything everybody's saying. They call him Tyrone. D, your list is looking a lot like where mine's supposed to be, so I'm very jealous of you. I'm very mad you took Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse from me, Lonita, but I have a wild ways to pick. So, D, you have the first pick of round 3.
Okay, so I wanted to kind of diversify my list, so I wanted to throw in something that at least showcased my love of this particular genre. So I'm going to throw in The Last Voyage of the Demeter, directed by André Ovredol. I am very excited for this because I read Dracula. Now, this was some time ago, but I definitely got roped into certain forms of classic literature like Dracula and Frankenstein and The Invisible Man and The Phantom of the Opera and so on and so forth. And so with Dracula, it definitely gave me a lot of context to that, because I think my initial introduction was Vampire in Brooklyn and then Interview with the Vampire. So understanding that character and just that, I guess, creature or horror figure from a literary perspective was very enlightening. So I think what I enjoy about this conceptually is that it is taking what is literally a chapter called the Captain's Log in Dracula in the novel, and it is just expanding upon that in this film. And I think, I guess now seeing it with the trailer and seeing it visually, I don't know, for whatever reason, it didn't occur to me like, man, where's the worst place to be when something like this kind of creature or figure would emerge, and it's on a boat where you can't escape or go anywhere else. So I was like, man, that in itself is pretty horrifying. So I'm really excited just to see the way they just portray that and tell it. And then we know that obviously it ties back into the original Dracula a certain type of way. So I think it'll just be fun to just see that those early experiences with the novel and just seeing that come to life. That's always really fun.
been looking at some of the dirt sheets. Like, I didn't know what this movie was when I first saw before the trailer came out. But I've been looking at some of the dirt sheet and some of the gossips out there about what they're trying to do with this film. It's coming out in August, and there's nothing really around it to compete outside of Blue Beetle comes out I think 2 weeks beforehand, and then Teenage Mutant Turtles is around there too. That's a different audience. I think they really want this film to do well. We're going to start seeing a lot more press for this. And there's buzz that they're trying to restart, trying to do that monster universe again, like they did with that terrible film Tom Cruise did. That's the last bad film Tom Cruise did, The Mummy. Apparently, like if this does well, this will be maybe a relaunch of the monster universe. So we start to see the full story of Dracula, but also some of these other characters, Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, all these different things come into Universal's monster saga here. So I hope it does well. I hope it's good.
Yeah, I'm excited. I would love for them to find a way back into that concept because I thought the dark universe was just a different idea, a cool idea. But like I said, the Mummy was not the way to start that off. I felt like Dracula Untold was like a nice kind of like starter there, and I thought we were just going to build off of that, and then the Mummy just blew that out the water. So I hope that if this is, even if it's just, if we're talking about tone and just the visual style and all that, if this is what they're going to lean into, I'm here for that. I just don't want anything that's just blockbustery and cheesy or just too over the top. Like make these stories as grounded and as gritty and as, impactful as they were on the page. So yeah.
And this is Universal, right?
Uh huh.
I'm going to have to wait and see. I love Universal. It is one of my favorite studios. However, sometimes they have these brilliant concepts. Like, I don't know about other folks, but I thought Violent Santa was a brilliant concept and I couldn't wait to see it. And then what they delivered was underwhelming. It didn't live up to its potential for me. And so and Bryon, that I'm not a horror movie person, but I love vampires and I love werewolves. And I also, one of my favorite movies of all times is the Monster Squad. So I do love the monsters. And so I would like for them to get it right. Okay. But it's one that I have to see. Like you said, the treatment will be so important. And the thing that you said, D, about being in the hull of a ship, trapped with the monster and the vastness of that water, you have nowhere to go. Like it's already there for us. It's already there for us. The tension, the creepiness, the spiritual questions that we would have to ask and answer for ourselves. What would we do? How would we be? Like, it's already all there. So I would just have to see it to see how they rock with it.
Yeah.
Plus your stomach probably already got the bubble guts because you're on that ship anyway. If that's terrible. That is terrible. Corey Hawkins, I had to look up his name. I had forgot he existed. I hate to say that, but I love the Straight Outta Compton, and then he just kind of disappeared for me. And then he did The Tragedy of Macbeth with Denzel that came on Apple TV, and I loved him in that. And so it's good to see him getting some work too. Next, second pick for round 3 for Lonita. What are we doing?
Okay, so I didn't do a whole lot of research on this one. This one surprised me to like, especially, me, Bryon, I'm not a horror movie person, but I'm gonna put in my top pick, in my draft pick, I'm gonna put The Boogeyman.
Yeah.
Are you serious?
Yes.
I hate you right now. That's literally was my next pick. That was gonna be my horror movie of the summer. And you okay? I'm gonna stop talking. Great pick. Go ahead and tell me what you want.
So, I mean, but the thing is undeniable. Like, because what you have here transcends genre. It's great storytelling, right? And so I when I watched the trailer, because at first I was like, yeah, I'm not gonna watch this whole thing. I'm gonna just watch it so I can say eh. And when I watched it, I said, wait a minute, I think I'm in. And so it's yeah.
So
Sorry.
I'm hearing you're committing to going to the premiere with me then when it comes out, huh?
I'll be there. I'm there. Like I will still cover my eyes. But I'm gonna watch most of it.
So this is a Stephen King adaptation of a short story from the 70s. And even if you don't know the short story, everybody knows the boogeyman and how scary that concept is,
Yes.
right? So the trailer looks great. It looks like they're going to do it justice. I'm sorry.
But let me tell you, it's the majesty of who cut this trailer. Like, if the movie is a tenth of as good as the trailer itself, because it starts out and it lures you in, like we all need to speak with a specialist or a therapist, and she all sweet faced, and then she turns sinister. That in and of itself is like, whoa. But then to have it where it's being narrated, not just the action of the movie, but the trailer itself, I thought that was a superb audio breaking of the fourth wall. And to even conceive of that for a trailer, I said, if the team is thinking like this in the execution of the movie, yeah, I'm in. I'm in because it's just creativity.
D, are you a horror fan?
I am. However, there are limitations to my horror appreciation. So when it comes to Terrifier and Evil Dead Rise and like that, I gotta back up off of it because it's just I don't know the extreme. It's weird because the stuff with violence and gore, like there are times with like John Wick, Logan, uh, Sisu, which I just saw. Like there are times where that can work in one circumstance, but when it's just sadistic, brutal, hostile and stuff, like when it's just like all the way there, it just doesn't vibe with me. So that's when it becomes a little dicey. But in general, yeah, I've actually been into horror since I was very, very young. Even when I was reading Goosebumps when I was like 4.
Oh
Fun
my.
fact: my grandmother got worried because she was like, it's like she would have conversations with my mom, and she was just like, "Does he need to be reading that? Is he gonna grow up and and have some issues because he's reading about all these creepy monsters?" And then my mom was like, "Look, he's reading at what age and what kind of books? Leave him alone." And so my mother was like, "Whatever." And so eventually she got over it. But yeah, I think from there, Are You Afraid of the Dark and just even certain films, and there's been a early horror appreciation mainly because of the stories. I mean, I think in one of my reviews, it was for the Fear Street trilogy. I did a whole deep dive as far as like I have read all these books catered towards children, like Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, that whole um, book series, and all those. And so I think the storytelling aspect was always what spoke to me, even beyond the films. The bit films could be fine, but I was always into the stories, even like stories from around the world that were horror stories and different cultures and things like that. So, so yeah. So when I think about horror, that's what I appreciate the most. I think that the 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 medium of film doesn't always enhance it the way that it could, but I think when it works, it can work. And I've read plenty of Stephen King growing up, so that at least gives me some hope. To at least enjoy it. I know some of his adaptations have been up and down, but there's a lot that I've enjoyed from him in on the screen and on the page. So I'm excited just from that standpoint.
I'm with you. I'm with you. I watched The Exorcist when I was like 5 or 6. So that's when my sick fascination with horror happened as well. I was very young, so I didn't know what half that stuff was, but I knew it was scary. Um, I really don't know what I'm going to do now because she took that. So I have to think about these next two picks pretty seriously. And of course, my notes freeze. Let's just do. At this point, I probably am just going to pick for stuff that I think this just speaks to me. So let's go with my number 3 pick is a small film. You probably can't read that because of the way the title is, but it's a film called The Angry Black Girl and Her Monster. It's a small independent film. I don't know any of this is the first time feature director. I don't know any of the actors in it, but the story looks really interesting. Horror is a great place for actors to cut their teeth. In fact, a lot of our best actors working today cut their teeth in horror. This film is about a little girl, not a little girl, I think she's like a preteen or a teenager, and her brother gets killed. They don't really say how she gets killed, but her brother gets killed tragically, and she wants to do something about it. She thinks that death can be defeated, and so she does. She's an engineer. She engineers some things to help to bring her brother back to life, but what comes back is not her brother, at least not the brother that she knows. And so she's trying to. That's all I know. That's all the title says. That's all you get from the trailer. I think this has been showing at different festivals, so you two might have already seen it already. I'm not sure, but it looks really interesting. It's based off of Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, so that was where the inspiration came from. The Angry Black Girl and Her Monster. It probably is only going to play for like a week, but if you see it in your theater, I think it's going to be worth your time. Have you guys heard of this film?
Yeah, I saw the trailer. I have not seen the film itself. When I saw the trailer, for some reason, it reminded me of that Spike Lee movie. The title of the movie escapes me, but it's the one he did on Netflix with the young girl who invents a time machine, and her brother is killed, and she uses this time machine to try to bring him back. And so I'm wondering if it will kind of follow the same trajectory that story. I'm sure they have nothing to do with each other, but just kind of the sentiment behind that reminded me. That's what came to mind when I watched that trailer. And then what you said about horror being a good place for new filmmakers to cut their teeth. I think horror is also a great genre kind of in general for Black creatives and Black storytellers to explore the dynamics of how we see Black life. I realized this for myself even before Get Out, but what's the character on The Walking Dead? What's her name? Is it Michonne?
Michonne. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and and this might be a spoiler if you haven't seen Walking Dead, but when there's a scene when Michonne is walking with the zombies. Everybody else is running from them, hiding from them, and Michonne is walking with them, and she kind of looks and she's like, among them, and perhaps even one of them. For me, this is when I realized how powerful horror is a genre for Black creatives to place themselves in this world.
It's good stuff. And have you seen it, Dee? The trailer
I
for
have
this?
not. No, you guys have put me on officially, so I will definitely be looking it up and putting it on my watch list.
Hey, that's the point. That's the point of these things, right? So I have my superhero action movie. I have my comedy. I have my horror. I'm going to go with, I think, and maybe I'm overthinking this, but it's probably the most divisive in terms of, it's not the most divisive movie of the summer. I just thought it was another one that I'm not picking. But is it going to do well? Is it not? I don't know. And that is Oppenheimer. I think that the trailer looks really good. I think that the story of Oppenheimer creating the atomic bomb is an interesting one. I don't know if that type of story is going to resonate with audiences, especially in the summer. To me, this movie is either going to make a lot of money or it has flop written all over it. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if I forgive Christopher Nolan for what he did to Tenet. I did not like Tenet at all. And it wasn't because of the confusing narrative. I saw it in the theater. I was one of those in the middle of the pandemic going to the theater to see it. and the sound mixing on that movie was so bad you couldn't hear any of the dialogue on this confused, and it just made me so angry. So if this is another one of those, I might be done with Christopher Nolan, even though he's done so many great works. I'm like, you're just interested in the sound mixing weird stuff. I'll just have to see it when it comes out on DVD or whatever. But I'm going to take a chance and go with Oppenheimer as maybe the biggest blockbuster or the biggest flop of the summer. I'm excited about it cautiously.
I would say that when I thought we had to pick 15 movies, it was on my list. It is no longer on my list now that we have a top five. This is the one with Cillian Murphy, right? I really like him.
Robert Downey Jr., Florence Pugh, Matt Damon. It's got Nolan gets everybody to work for him, so.
Yeah, and I like Robert Downey Jr. The other ones, I'm cool. I'm cool. But Cillian Murphy, I hope it's really good. I hope it's as good as Christopher Nolan's best work, because I really would like to see him as an actor take his place. I haven't stayed current on Peaky Blinders, but I think the roles that he chooses for himself are always quite interesting. And I feel like this is somebody who's thoughtful about his career, and isn't just like making strategic moves so he can be a big star. I think this is somebody, when he chooses a role, I trust his choice. And so I really hope that this is as good as Christopher Nolan's best. But I agree with you about Tenet. Outside of those fancy fight scenes that I friggin' loved, Tenet was kind of a monster.
Mm-hmm. Are you excited about Oppenheimer, D, or is this not? This probably wasn't on your list.
Oh no, it was, but it got snatched tragically before I could I could
I got you
display
back.
it. Yes, of course. But yeah, no, I had the same experience with Tenet. I was like, look, I'm fine being challenged. I'm not one of those. It doesn't have to be easy entertainment, but yeah, the sound mixing, the dialogue, all that. After a while, I got intensely irritated, so I was a little over it by the end. But I will say there's a lot I appreciate about Christopher Nolan's direction. In general, I'll say I'm a big history buff, so I think what I love in general, Titanic was probably the biggest, probably the first big depiction of a historical event and tragedy in this case that I'd ever seen, and it really changed a lot for me as far as realizing the work that goes into depicting past eras and uh, just certain periods in time. In this case, an entire ocean liner that goes under the sea. And so I think, and I learned a whole lot from that, and it really became my catalyst for diving into history, just from all the details of that. And so from there, I know aspects of the atomic bomb, but I want to know more. And so I'm really interested in seeing how this digs into all the forces that came together to create this um, monster of a creation, and the consequences of that, the fallout from that, all of that. So I just think from a historical perspective, that's what I'm really, really excited for. I mean, of course, it's Christopher Nolan, so have a lot of flair and spectacle and all of that. But for me, it's about the substance behind the story and really understanding like how this came to be and just what came forth from that.
100%. It should have came out in the fall, but they wanted to come out now. We'll see what it does. Christopher Nolan, redeem yourself. He did make Dunkirk too. He did Dunkirk, right? Dunkirk was okay.
That's what I was thinking, that he did Dunkirk, which
yeah.
Was beautiful. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So the second pick of round 4 goes to Lonita.
It's my next film. Okay,
Uh-huh.
so this one is me just picking not from a critical perspective, but my age and my favorite genre. And don't smack me, but I'm gonna pick Book Club, the next chapter.
Mm. Okay.
So yeah.
Tell us about it.
Well, it's about a group of older ladies. I'm a little bit ashamed. I feel like I should say something else because so it's about older ladies who you know convene around a book. I think the first one, the first movie was 50 Shades. Like, you guys are making me say this.
We're not making you do anything. You picked the movie. We're just asking you, hey, what's going on? Tell us in graphic detail what's the fifth one.
And I mean, but it's also really about friendship, of course. I love romantic comedies where you've got your girls and it's like a coven and they're like casting love spells. Like that's how it feels. And I love that it's older ladies. I'm not as old as they are, but they still appeal to, I think, my generation. And so uh you can find love later in life, which is something that's important to me. And yeah, I'm excited about it. I love Diane Keaton. Been a huge fan my whole life of her work, and so I really am excited, yeah, for this one.
I tell you what, both Diane Keaton and Jane Fonda, they stay working.
They
Jane
stay
Fonda,
working.
after Janarian, she tells us she's just putting movies out. And now I wanted to see 80 for Brady. I never got a chance to see it, but I heard it was really cute and really adorable
It
and
was so fun.
everything you thought it would be. So good for them. Good for them. I'm sure it's going to be. It comes out next week or in a couple of weeks, right? So I think I have the
Yes,
date
yes, yes,
somewhere.
yes.
So
So I think it comes out the first Friday of the month, and yeah, Jane Fonda, Diane Keaton, they stay fly. So yeah,
So if you're not into superhero movies and you want to zag, this is coming out the same weekend as Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. So if you want to skip the crowds and see something a little bit more refreshing and light and fun as well, go see the book club.
yes.
All right, D, you have the third pick of round four and the fifth pick of the first pick of round five.
Okay. Um, I got a little stuck for a second, but I just feel like I want to be on code, and I should throw in a superhero film fatigue, notwithstanding. But I'll slide this in there because I am interested to see just how this character functions and to learn more about him because I've had a very interesting introduction. So I will go with Blue Beetle, directed by Angel Manuel Soto. I've been into my introduction to DC and really the superheroes in general. I've said this a few times, but when I was very very young, I'm talking like three. It was Batman: Mask of the Phantasm, Batman Returns, and then Batman the Animated Series. That was kind of just my general like, okay, this is how this works, and it was a very kind of dark and sinister introduction. But I was into it, even though I was so young. And so from there, I didn't realize until some years back that DC had a whole like they had so many animated films in their roster, and a lot of them are superior to the live action films. And I had that introduction, but I didn't, I kind of got away from it over the years. So having that experience. And watching, I think the first one I watched was Batman Assault on Arkham, and it was after I was extremely irritated by the first Suicide Squad. So
Mm.
watching the animated film and really being like, whoa, like I mean, it was a great experience, and I would definitely recommend that. And so from there, I watched what is it called? I watched Justice League versus Teen Titans, and then Teen Titans: The Judas Contract.
Mm.
And both of those were great. I remember the series, but I didn't realize there was a kind of a separate film. And in both of those, Blue Beetle popped up. Had never seen Blue Beetle before. I was actually kind of confused at first, but I really connected with the character, and I just thought like the concept of it was really unique. Like parasite, so to speak, or just this thing, organism attached to his body that he's communicating with and that he can't fully control. And that, and seeing that kind of play out in the story, I just thought was really, really interesting. So I actually was kind of excited to know more, but it was only limited to those two films at the time, at least. And so now that we have an actual origin story, I love the fact that I can learn and just see what's connected to that character. Where did this organism come from? What is it like as he's getting adjusted to it? What does his family have to deal with once this is in the picture? Who's the antagonist, and so on and so forth. Then, of course, we have the Puerto Rican representation, even with the director and the story that's being told. So yeah, so I had to throw that in there, and represent. Yeah.
Yes.
I don't know anybody involved with this film other than George Lopez. So this is going to be a learning opportunity for me for some of these actors and also the director. I think Blue Beetle is really cool in terms of a character. I only know him from Teen Titans as well. The Judas Contract is amazing. Those types of cartoon movies. If you watch it, all this stuff is on HBO Max for the most part. If you don't know anything about the animated films that DC's doing, people always talk about the Snyderverse. Forget the Snyderverse. Go see the animated films. They really know what they're doing. And Justice League and all those things are really good. I'm pretty excited about it as well. It was one that I was eyeing if people kept stealing my stuff. So I'm glad that it's on the board. Have you seen the trailer for Blue Beetle? It just came out a couple of weeks ago, Lonita. I don't know if you've even seen it yet.
Yeah. I watched the trailer for all of our picks, all 50 or. Yeah, that's 50. You gave us 50.
Mhm.
So I watched the trailer for all of them. And it was really hard to meet this assignment because it is like stuff looks so exciting.
Yes.
And in terms of Blue Beetle, I'm very excited, like you said, for the Latinx representation or Latinx representation. And then, but I don't know superheroes. Like everybody knows, I know nothing about superheroes. I grew up, Christopher Reeve was my Superman. Like that, when I say I'm a little bit older, like I'm a little bit older, okay? And so all of these superhero movies have all come out as I'm an adult. I didn't read comics growing up, that kind of thing. So everything that I'm learning, I'm entering everything through the cinematic experience. And so I'm excited, but I don't have that emotional connection to it that comes from the source material, or that comes from meeting it with the youthfulness and innocence of childhood.
One thing that I'm glad you said that because it makes it hard to keep a critical eye when watching films, at least for me, because I have all the background, especially on the Marvel stuff, and a lot of my friends who grew up with comics, reading comics, watching the shows, either you can be overly critical or not critical enough. Like it's hard to keep a balance with that. So 100%. Real quick in the comments, Alexandra Wilson, I love me some Jane Fonda. So she'll probably go be seeing book club too. Thanks for chiming in, Alexandria. Then also Movie Mom says hi. So hi, Movie Mom. We're going to go ahead and start the fifth and final round of the draft. D, what is your final pick?
Me? Oh, me again. Okay. That's okay. This is, I mean, it was already difficult enough, but as we've continued to discuss, it's gotten increasingly more difficult. And I didn't think that would be the case. So, yeah, I think I might have to bite the bullet on this one. I never thought that this would be on my list. Even when it was first announced, I was just like, what's going on? I was confused why the director was taking this on. But as we've gone along and I've seen more promotional material, I just think it is going to be an experience if nothing else. So yeah, I'm going to have to go with Barbie, directed by Greta Gerwig.
Yes.
Hey, don't feel bad. Barbie was my fifth pick again. Something stolen from me. But go ahead and tell us about Barbie a little bit.
Yeah, so it's directed by Greta Gerwig, and so it is this kind of this live action exploration of the world of Barbie and Ken, uh, and I think it's really interesting with the trailer. If you know the teaser trailer, the inspiration that it takes at the beginning, and the evolution of the doll, and the evolution of young girls with toys. I just thought that was really funny. But yeah, it just looks like, now, granted, on the surface, it looks like it's something really funny, really charming, and quirky. But I don't know. I get this weird, I don't know. I just kind of get this feeling it may have more to say underneath. Like they may just kind of throw some stuff in there that you may not expect. And the cast is, it's an all-star cast. Issa Rae, Simu Liu, Ryan Reynolds, my guy from Sex Education, like almost like a whole bunch of folks are like it's a packed cast, and so many other actors. So yeah, so I'm excited because it's just, I don't know, it seems like such an odd concept that shouldn't work, but it feels like that's the reason why I think it might work, and it's going to be something I'm going to walk away from just really laughing and really having a smile on my face about, especially as someone who grew up with all kinds of cousins and family members who were just Barbie, 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 Barbie all the time.
Greta Gerwig and Noam Baumbach helps to co-writes this film too. I'm thinking, so based off of that, I don't think this is going to be for kids, even though it's a Barbie film, and even though it seems light on the surface. I think you're right. It's going to have a lot more to say, and it's probably going to be a little bit darker than what we would imagine. But based off of just her work with Lady Bird and Little Women and some other things Greta Gerwig has done, this is definitely going to have something to say about the societal impact of Barbie, good, bad, or otherwise. Are you a Greta Gerwig fan, Lonita?
I'm all right. Like Lady Bird was cool for me. What she do, Little Women, like it was cool for me. Like I don't dislike her work. Um, that's how I feel about her.
I
So, but I will say I'm excited for Barbie, but if for no other reason than the marketing for this thing is zip zip zap. Like it is amazing. Like everything that you seeing, regular folks getting in, celebrities getting in. I think the marketing campaign for this movie is sensational. So if that type of smarts and strategy is applied to the film itself, I'm pretty excited, and I agree that there's going to be undertones of something more serious. When I saw the trailer for the first time, and it's not like it at all, but I was like, this seems like it's lifted from Toy Story 3. The relationship that Barbie and Ken had in Toy Story 3. I said, okay, like it's gonna get dark, it's gonna get serious, but it's gonna be funny, and I don't know if it's gonna be like factionism or totalitarianism, but there will be something far more, like you said, adult to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Well, your final pick, Lanita. What's going to be the last thing off the board for you?
I'll be honest with you, this was hard, very, very hard, because I can I just do some honorable mentions? Are you allowing that?
I was going to do honorable mentions at the end, and
Okay,
just talk about what
okay,
we're surprised wasn't picked.
okay. So I think what I want to go with, because remember I had to down because I thought it was 15. Like, don't think I'm crazy. I keep saying this. Don't think I'm crazy. But I'm actually really, really excited for Disney's Haunted Mansion.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay.
The cast alone, how you gonna put Lake Keith, right? And so I'm just like, oh, you know. So I'm very excited. I'll be honest with you, and this, you can keep this between us. I actually didn't hate the Eddie Murphy version.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was cute, and I think that the humor is modern, and this one in the 2023 is modern. I think that the cast is stacked. I'm very excited about like Owen Wilson and like so I don't know. I'm gonna make that my last pick. I think I'm gonna do that.
Nothing to apologize for. I don't have a feeling either way for this film, only because I don't really know much about it. I actually didn't even know Lakeith Stanfield was in it, so that actually does pique my interest quite a bit that he's in the film. So that's what's up. That's what's up. Disney's Haunted Mansion, isn't it like a ride or something at Disneyland or Disney World, or am I making
That
that
I've
up?
been on, yes.
At Disneyland.
Yeah, believe it or not, I've never. My wife thinks I'm some sort of I don't know, hermit because I've never been to Disneyland or Disney World in my long years here, so I don't know any of these things. But hey, they've had success with adapting these movies before, so why not? Why not? Dio, were you excited about Haunted Mansion?
I am actually. That was on my short list as well. Yeah, I've had the experience of riding the haunted mansion at Disneyland when I was very very young, and I was shocked to see like there's a whole I mean like this whole massive, because it's kind of like a dark ride, and you get in these little kind of like seat type things. I can't remember what they designed it as, but you just kind of go on this wild ride throughout. You see all these things moving and shifting and stuff popping up at you. And there's this whole massive hall, banquet hall, like kind of like dance hall, ballroom, where you see all these ghosts dancing inside the room. And I just thought that was the crazy. I was like, how is this possible? Like it blew my mind. I had never seen anything like that before. Now, as far as the Eddie Murphy film, I thought it was cool for what it was. I think I probably would have enjoyed it a little bit more if I was a little younger. I was kind of moving into young adult age, so it felt slightly more kiddie-ish for me at that time. And I think I wanted something a little bit darker, especially considering my experience with the ride. But yeah, but it definitely was cool as far as family entertainment, and it was still fun enough. But yeah, I'm really interested to see like what their new take on it is going to be, especially as someone who has had that experience with the ride and then with that initial movie. So if nothing else, just to see how this all-star cast is going to collaborate together, and then just like how are we going to I guess just reconceptualize what this mansion looks like and what we're going to see inside of it.
All-star cast, what? Jamie Lee Curtis, Danny DeVito, Ryan Gosling, Tiffany Haddish, Jared Leto. Like, I think it's an incredible cast, but I think they're going to give you what you're asking for. It seems like it's far more ominous than the
Mhm.
2003 version. So
Mhm.
I think they're going to give you that darkness. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm here for it.
Cool beans. I'm going to finish this off. And I just made a decision that I'm going to go for my last pick for nostalgia, which is something that really speaks to me. And there's actually a couple of different movies in this category that I could go with, but I'm going to maybe surprise you with Transformers Rise of the Beast. And the reason I'm picking Transformers, when I was a kid and I was getting into Transformers, it wasn't the original one. It was the Beast Wars. There's a TV show, Transformer Beast Wars, that I
Yeah.
loved. And you had instead of turning into vehicles, they turned into animals. Tigers. There's a tiger. The ape was the prime, and so on and so forth. And so this is based off of that story, which makes me really excited. Once Michael Bay got away from this series, I think it's watchable again. I really liked Bumblebee, and
Oh, so did I.
the reason I like Bumblebee is the reason why I think I'm gonna like this film too. Is that it was heartwarming, it was easy to digest, which I think is really good for kids, and I think that this film is going to do well with all audiences for that. I think it's going to be one of the biggest kids movies of the year, but also people like me who grew up with Beast Wars are going to love it too. So I don't think it's going to be the best film of the year of the summer. I think it's going to make a lot of money, and I think it's going to do everything I want it to do, though, which is what I want from summer blockbusters. So that's my final pick. Let's go ahead and read our list off, and then we can talk about some honorable mentions. D, what's your starting five for the summer?
Okay. So we have Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning Part One. We have They Cloned Tyrone. We have The Last Voyage of the Demeter. We have Blue Beetle, and we have Barbie.
Perfect. Lonita, what's your starting five?
I don't know. That's a solid list. I might have to co-opt that list. That sounds good. And I have to say, I'm not surprised because that's what I was toggling between Haunted Mansion or Transformers. So I love that you picked that. But my starting five, if I can see this, because I'm looking at the screen, that's going to be across the Spideyverse. You got your Elementals. You got the Boogeyman. What's this last one I said? Book Club. And then you got Haunted Mansion.
Okay, and my starting five is Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, Joyride, The Angry Black Girl and Her Monster, Oppenheimer, and Transformers Rise of the Beast. So a lot of big names missing here. What are your honorable mentions, and what do you think is surprising that wasn't selected?
Well, so for me, I know it's a lot of controversy going around, which is why I didn't put it on my list. But The Flash, I watched the TV series, and it's my kind of thing. I love the science. I love the sci-fi. I love time travel. I'm a sci-fi girl. Um, I know the controversy, so I said I'm steer clear of that because I don't fully support. However, okay, my Batman, the best Batman, if you ask me, okay, is Michael Keaton. And so, yes, when you telling me that you're gonna get him back in the bat suit, oh, I'm there, I'm living, I'm in it. So I have to say that would be an honorable mention because for me that is the cat's meow. Okay. The Meg 2. I
Mm-hmm.
loved The Meg. I thought I was going to hate it. I saw it only because I'm a film critic, and then I friggin' loved it. And so I'm very excited for The Meg 2. Um, I'm very excited because I can't wait to see the rest of their marketing and the producing behind it. I thought that the things that they did in terms of their campaigning for that movie was something to be studied, honestly, because the concept for the Meg really was kind of like, meh. And it turned out really well for them. Um, I don't know how I actually feel about the Indiana Jones, but I
Mm-hmm.
kind of like this idea, similar to the Flash, of being rerouted back into the past, being rerouted back into history. And so, even though I'm a little bit like, really, right now, bringing Indiana Jones back, I'm actually kind of like, am I here for the young
Mm-hmm.
Harrison Ford? So, I'm a little bit in for that. Um, you had Mission Impossible on your list, and Master Gardener.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
Absolutely. I
yeah.
I resonate with all those. I think that the Flash, Ezra Miller, I don't know why they did what they did because they could have been the biggest movie star in the world. This should have been the most successful movie of the year, and it won't be because of the controversy, and rightfully so. But it looks so. I feel bad for those involved with it because it looks so good in terms of what they've done with this film. We'll see what happens. I love Jason Statham in the Meg. In the Meg, it was so. I went to go see the Meg thinking it was just going to be a trash film, and it kind of was, but in the best ways possible. You know, this big. I mean, I'm here for Meg 2 as well. James Mangold directs Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. He did my favorite superhero movie of all time, which is Logan. He directed my favorite Sly Stallone film outside of the Rocky franchise of all time, and that's Copland. And he's done a bunch of things in between that. He's a phenomenal director. He's the reason why I believe in this film. It doesn't look like Harrison Ford's really He's not phoning it in. The thing that I think that has a lot of people concerned is some of the special effects with the action sequences that they're showing in this trailer just doesn't look that good. But that was the other nostalgia pick for me. And then Constant Gardner, yeah, 100%. D, what do you think about those? And what are some other surprises or honorable mentions that you have?
Yeah, yeah, I agree with the majority of those. I was going to say with Master Gardener, that was very, very close to being number four, number five. I really do enjoy Joel Egerton, and it's one of those things where I didn't realize at the time because I've seen him in so much, but I forgot that. I want to say one of my earliest, I guess, moments recognizing him was in the Star Wars prequels. Totally forgot because he's done so much more since then as
He's in there.
well, what ends up being Luke's uncle, and I think he was also in the Obi-Wan series. But yeah, but he's done a whole lot since then. I think as a director, he really threw me for a loop with The Gift. Um, that one really shocked me because from the trailer, that looked like that was going to be your typical, oh, someone's crazy, someone's a stalker, someone's,
Mm-hmm.
and woo, they did some serious role reversal in that film that I didn't see coming. So yeah, so just him being on board is great, but then I also love when you have I love stories where there are these quiet, unassuming characters who have these secrets, who have these lives that, all this stuff buried under the surface. One of my, when I did my when I did my top films of 2022, my number one pick was The Outfit, and that was one of my favorite
Mm.
films of the year because it had a similar theme where it's like it's this unassuming cutter in this tailor shop, and he doesn't know what's going on. He's trying to make his way through, and then you realize there's just this unraveling of the story, and by the time you get to the end, it's like, oh, this is not who I thought. So yeah, so I'm just really interested in seeing just the unraveling of that story and that mystery. Also, I'm really intrigued by Past Lives. That was
Mm-hmm.
at the Sundance Film Festival. I checked out a lot of films at Sundance, but I didn't get to see that one. There's just always so many, and you can only buy but so many before the pockets start running dry. So yeah. But Past Lives, it just looks very intriguing, very poetic. Of course, it's on the surface, it's the theme of someone, you know, people who knew each other as children and kind of circling back to each other as adults. But it's something about the visual style of it and just the dialogue and just I don't know. It looks like it'll be. I don't know. It probably seems silly to some folks that it'll probably be like some kind of existential type of story when it comes to connection and relationships and meaning and all that. But I don't know. I'm really intrigued to see what it's going to have to say. Every time I think about the trailer, just it keeps coming back to me. And I'm also really excited to I'm really excited to check out Flaming Hot. I guess maybe
Yeah.
as someone who grew up eating and maybe still occasionally eats some from time to time, I can't imagine I don't know I don't know. I can't even begin to imagine what that story is going to be like and how it came about. And like I said, there's a little bit of history there. I love learning, little quirky details like that. But yeah, it's just like, what story are we going to tell about flaming hot chips? I really want to know.
It's interesting they keep on doing these. It's like a new wave of films. You had Tetris, and
Yep,
there's a
yep.
BlackBerry film coming out this summer, and then Air just came out in
Right.
March or this April. And how these products. It's like a product placement movie, but I don't know. I'm interested in it too. At least looks like it's going to
Yeah.
be funny. Um, Let me think of some films here. 100% on everything that you said on Past Lives. Past Lives looks like something I'm going to probably curl up because I think it's a straight to streaming movie. I don't think it's coming out in the theaters. So maybe I'll curl up with the wifey. It seems like a good date night movie. So that'll be fun. I think we've kind of mentioned everything else. The biggest movies that are coming out that we haven't mentioned is Fast X. Nobody picked Fast X. It's going to make it all. Those movies always make a ton of money. They're some of them are guilty pleasures. Some of them are just god awful. I don't know where this is going to stand, but we'll see. I appreciate how Vin Diesel keeps on not demanding, but writing in Paul Walker in all these movies, even if they're flashbacks, so as the state continues to get money from these films. I think that that's a nice touch, if I have to say something nice about the Fast franchise. The Little Mermaid, nobody mentioned Little Mermaid. I'm hoping that it's good because I want Haley Bailey to win here, but these live action remakes just haven't been the greatest. A movie that I will say is an honorable mention for me is Hypnotic. They just released the first trailer, I think, last week. It's a Ben Affleck movie where he's trying to solve this mystery, but the guy like hypnotizes like a mentalist that's like getting him to see stuff, and it looks really weird in a good way for me. Asteroid City, I don't know how you guys feel about Wes Anderson movies. I didn't like The French Dispatch, but I like a lot more, which I think is the most recent one to this one, but I like a lot more of his other ones. They're all kind of quirky movies about a bunch of
I knew from the first frame that it was a Wes Anderson. I think he's one of the definitely an auteur. You know him. He don't have to he didn't have to put his name on it or nothing. I was like, oh, this Wes Anderson. Yeah, and I really enjoy his work. I actually did like The French Dispatch, and so I think that's a great call.
And then just the other horror movies. Insidious has its fourth movie coming out, The Red Door, and it's a follow-up to the first film. And then also Talk to Me. I was excited about it until I found out the directors were just YouTubers. And I'm a YouTuber, so I mean, I beat it down too much, but I don't know what it's going to look like in terms of an actual film, but they're known for gory type of like storytelling on YouTube, so maybe it'll be good. So those are mine. But there's a lot more films we could talk about. We can go on all night on these things, but our top, you see the 15 films that we think you should see this summer. Let us know in the comments section below if you find the live stream later or if you're on the live stream now. Who do you think won the draft, and are you excited about any of the movies we picked? Are you excited about movies we didn't pick? Please let us know. We would love to hear it. I want to, before we go, give our first thank our esteemed panel, Lonita Cook, as well as D Movie Man, for helping me with this draft. I had a lot of fun. I hope you guys had fun with it too. Tell us where we can find you.
You can find me on Instagram at Lonita Cook. You can find me on Facebook and KCTV5.com.
Thanks, Lonita. How about you, D Movie Man?
All right, so you can find me on YouTube at capital D space capital MOVIEMAN. You can find me on Twitter at DMovieMan2, or it might be DMovieMan_2. I am also on Instagram and Letterboxd under DMovieMan. That's just DMOVIEMAN, no caps and no spaces.
Perfect. Of course, you guys can find me right here at Bryon Knows Movies. YouTube every week. See It, a show about movies and stuff, comes on every 6 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Central here on YouTube every Tuesday. We'll be back next week. I don't know what we're talking about. Something in the news. Who knows? But thank you guys so much, and I'll see you at the theaters next week.